Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to explain about why and how I used a pulse oximeter during COVID. Now, looking back at COVID, and I'm not a virologist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know this, that if there's a virulent virus out there that is extremely contagious, regardless of whether you have gloves, a mask, or whatever it might be, they do very little to nothing as far as spreading COVID or any type of other virus. I mean, you've probably seen some of these movies where these guys are set up in these look like space suits in order to keep them from being exposed to viruses. That's the extent you would have to go through in order to protect yourself. So during the COVID epidemic, where it probably gave people what I consider a false sense of security with the gloves and the masks, I guess it served its purpose in one way, shape, or form, but as far as the spreading of the virus, it did very little. The fact is, if you were exposed to COVID, it would all depend on how your body reacted to it. The fact that you would be exposed was probably 100%, but more people were more susceptible to COVID because of the fact that they had a depressed immune system, they had some type of underlying condition, which made them more susceptible, and it exacerbated those conditions. As far as the ventilator is concerned, anybody knows that when an individual's on a ventilator, they are sedated. I mean, no one wants anybody awake with a tube down their throat, so they're actually sedated. What does that do for the cough reflex? What does that do for eliminating the fluid that builds up inside the lungs? Because that is one of the effects of COVID. So you got fluid building up inside the lungs. You are inundated with this tube down your throat. It subverts your cough reflex, and as a result, you're not able to get that fluid up. So you actually drown from the inside out. You become hypoxic because the extreme ends of the respiratory network, being the alveoli, are not able to perform as oxygen carbon dioxide exchange. So therefore, regardless of how much oxygen you pump into the individual, they're not really going to receive a majority of it because those passageways are blocked. So having said all that, one of the things during COVID and how I was able to keep a handle on it and know exactly where I was is by using a pulse oximeter. And this would be what it looks like this. Just something you pick up from Walmart again, not selling it. I just want to let people know exactly what I used. And by using this, I would be able to determine what my oxygen saturation is. And the oxygen saturation is the amount of oxygen percentage-wise that's floating around in your blood. So what you do is, I put this on my finger, and then you press this button right here, and then it would give you a reading. I don't know if you can read it from there, but eventually it will. So it says 97%. Yeah, I think it looks backwards on the camera, I'm not sure. And a pulse of about 95, only because I just finished eating a meal. So 97%, which is good. Now, where I experienced issues was when that number, 97, dropped down to 95, 94, 93, 92. And as it approached 90, I would start feeling heavy in the chest because the phlegm was starting to build up and I had less oxygen capacity. So as a result, as I said, I was having labored breathing. So every time that happened, and well, I didn't have to wait for that to happen, I would actually do what you usually do to relieve a chest congestion. Utilize the methods that have been used for years to relieve chest congestion. Expectorants, steam. You spend a lot of time coughing stuff up, but once I got it out of my system, once I got it out and got the phlegm out, then you'll see those oxygen saturation rates, because I had the pulse oximeter on my finger so I could tell, jumped up. They jumped back up to 96, 97, something to that effect. Now, it was a 2-month ordeal where I was actually coughing up this phlegm. And with COVID, that's the way it had to be. A lot of the people got the short end of the stick because either they were intubated because they dropped into the low 90s, or they were approaching the 80s. Usually the low 80s is when they start stuff like that. So as a result, they they weren't able to maintain a sufficient oxygen saturation, so they would intubate them. And of course, intubating them retarded their gag reflex, their cough, well, their gag reflex. Also kept them from coughing up whatever they had in their lungs. So as a result, as I said, most of these people just drowned from the inside out. That's unfortunate. They didn't know enough about COVID in order to reverse that. And because the reason why is because for years, the medical industry has intubated people in respiratory distress, and that's just the way things went. But unfortunately, I think by doing that, it actually worked against combating this illness and actually went in the other direction. So by using this pulse oximeter, which you don't use it on a regular basis, people who generally have COPD or a very heavy cold may find benefit from using something like this so they know where they're at. Medical professionals use it as well. It is a handy piece of equipment. Now, as far as COVID was concerned, between that, taking expectorants, I also asked my doctor about a possible lung infection, because with COVID, you were very susceptible to having a lung infection. Typically, viruses aren't treated by antibiotics, but this was different. This could cause a bacterial pneumonia. So prophylactically, we would treat for that. Expectorants, steam, constant coughing up of the phlegm, and of course you had all your other symptoms going on too. So you were treating them, as they came about. And as a result, over about a month or two, I went past the danger mark and things sort of cleared up. Unfortunately, my dad wasn't as fortunate. He was severely COPD, and he was taking oxygen. Now, he went into the hospital for an operation that he was doing to clear a vessel in his leg, and he contracted COVID in the hospital, and because of his depressed respiratory system, he wasn't able to pull out of it, unfortunately. But there could have been a chance for a lot of people to do so. I can't say what each individual was experiencing, but coupled with the treatment that I explained for COVID, I took mass doses of vitamin D, which is a hormone which supercharges your immune system, plus taking aspirin and whatever, treating the other symptoms along with COVID. Now, hindsight being what it is, hindsight being 2020, could things have been done different? Sure, but we've never experienced, the world in general has never experienced a virus such as COVID. Now, they do have the vaccines out. I can't speak one way or the other for the vaccines. I did get them all, and the boosters and what have you. Haven't had a reoccurrence of COVID. Hopefully that's all in the rearview mirror for everybody. But for anybody who's had someone who's been affected by COVID, my thoughts and prayers are with you and your families. Anyone who has passed away from COVID, the same thing applies. Let's hope if something like this ever comes around again, that we're able to meet it head on and have a viable and successful conclusion to it as far as remedies. Well, thanks again for listening, and please subscribe.